Hey, welcome back. I'm Ferrikster, here to bring you some more Pokemon Go GBL battles. These battles are from the sets that immediately follow the sets from my last video. In my last video, running in Halloween Cup, I made my way up, I don't know, some number of points, I forget, up to number 52 on the leaderboard, and these are the sets that immediately follow that. So we're just going to kind of continue to see where my run goes and where it ends up. Although I probably ended up spoiling that in the title, because I do that. So, same team as before. I am opening with Drapion. If you have not seen that video before, it is Drapion with Poison Sting, Crunch, and Sludge Bomb, with a Dragalge, with Aqua Tail and Gunk Shot, and then I have an Azumarill with Ice Beam and Play Rough. It's the same set that I've always used on Azumarill. I've never been one to give up the coverage that Ice Beam, the coverage and speed of Ice Beam, because Azu is already incredibly slow, for the nuke that is Hydro Pump. That's all good. It's actually the recommended set for this cup. So, Drapion into Scissor. Shadow Scissor is pretty squishy, so after a single crunch, it just puts them really low. Like, I'd be able to maybe snipe them down with Azu if under the right conditions. My opponent swaps out, and there is a Nidoqueen in the back. So this was actually Shadow Scissor double Nido. Which is fine. I probably should have swapped out to try to catch this Earth Power. I figured there was a decent chance it might come up right away, but there was also kind of a shot that they would end up throwing one more. And I didn't want to swap into Azu because Drapion can't really fast move down Scissor, and Azu can. So if I'm able to just, bubble that down, now all I need to do is either get to 2 Ice Beams, which I probably would actually have been able to do watching this video. Like, I definitely could have thrown the one of my Ice Beams at Nidoqueen as soon as I got there, and if I got the shield, then great. I'd be able to throw the next one. So, yeah, I guess I kind of made a mistake in that round looking at this, from the present. But that's all right. Let's just recover. So, Umbreon lead. Drapion can get to 3 Sludge Bombs if, what is it? If you shield once? Do I have to shield once? Like, I know I survive a second Last Resort, and it takes 3 to take Drapion out. Just going straight Sludge Bomb is definitely the play because Umbreon just never seems to shield. Right, I know how this goes. If you don't let them sneak in any moves, you can get your 3rd Sludge Bomb out before they throw their a foul play at you to finish you off. My opponent opted to try to catch a move on Nidoqueen, so I'm just going to throw my first crunch. And here I have a decision to make where I could shield this and then throw another crunch, or shield it and store up a move, but I opted to just let it go. And bring in Dragalge, because if I bring Dragalge in and that Nidoqueen emptied itself out on Drapion, then I can get to this Aqua Tail before they can threaten the Earth Power, so I have the option to just shield once. And especially here because I snuck in a Dragon Tail when my opponent threw on alignment, so even though they're baiting Poison Fang, they're still not going to be able to get another move out. So lucky for me that I was able to sneak in that move, because that definitely helped that match a lot. Umbreon is going to come back in, already has plenty of energy left over, so I'm going to throw my Aqua Tail here. I'm pretty sure they were still 1 Snarl away, but I have definitely miscounted before, so happy to just take that out before it's too late. And an Alolan Muck with Poison Jab comes out. So this was another team with double Poison Jab in the back. It's a pretty popular line. Azu, obviously not amazing against Poison Jab, but, I mean, I'm going to be able to take this Acid Spray and just squeeze out these Ice Beams. And from this health range, an Ice Beam would be enough, so my opponent has to shield, and now I just need to get these bubbles out so that I can get to my next Ice Beam. I can definitely shield this Acid Spray. I know it's going to be an Acid Spray, but I'm not sure I'll be able to make it if I don't. Yeah. I guess I just wasn't certain I would make it either way, so it's just safer to save that shield for Dragalge. Come out and just throw this Aqua Tail, because I definitely had enough health to be able to make it there. So that's a GG. Could have gone about that in either way, really. I think it was probably all right. All right, next up against SJP. Drapion into Mandibuzz. This is incredibly similar to the Umbreon matchup. This Mandy is running Air Slash, so similar to Umbreon, I can survive 2 aerial aces, but just barely. Mandibuzz can actually just fast move Drapion down after that. I'm able to sneak in a Poison Sting, which helps because my opponent was able to sneak in an Air Slash, both of us throwing on alignment, and neither of us able to deny. So I'm just going to throw 1 Poison Sting so that they definitely don't get a full free fast move before throwing my my next Sludge Bomb. And here I'm just going to no shield again because I'll survive that aerial ace. And because I didn't deny that well, if he had stayed in, he actually would have been able to just fast move me down. But he opted to try to catch the Sludge Bomb. Well, he opted to catch the Sludge Bomb on Drapion. I ended up throwing it anyway. But that's fine with me because Drapion is kind of difficult for my team to kill. Like, Drapion just hits everything so hard. I'm going to end up throwing this Aqua Tail here, and if my opponent no shields, I should be able to Dragon Tail them down, except that they snuck in a Poison Sting, but it looks like I would have had to, you know what, I would have had to shield this no matter what. It didn't matter that they snuck a move in. They get the defense drop, which is unfortunate for me, so I'm going to insta-swap out to Azu, and there's a Quillfish in the back, so that is really, really bad for Azu. Quillfish is a very hard counter to Azumarill. I'm going to actually end up shielding what turns out to be an Acid Spray, which is just bad on top of bad. So I'm going to throw this Ice Beam, and I do not get a shield there. The only good thing about taking that Acid Spray is that means that this Quillfish almost certainly has Aqua Tail as its second move, so Quillfish doesn't actually have a move that can hit Azumarill or Dragouge very hard. Both of my Pokemon resist water, so I'm able to just switch out into Dragouge, and I'm starting to do this fast move damage. Gonna end up having to eat this Aqua Tail, but it is single resisted, so it's not really that bad. And now I'm gonna land this, or land my own Aqua Tail, and it does, yeah, not that much. Opponent swaps out to Mandibuzz, and I'm just barely able to make it to this Aqua Tail. It's actually super important. If I did not make it there, it would be in a really, really bad spot. So able to get that last shield, and now I can just bring out Azumarill. And at this point, I kind of just have to bubble down, and if I bubble down, I can hit Quillfish with a charge move, and any charge move will do, and SJP recognizes that and resigns the game, and that's a GG. But that was looking really iffy for me for a while. I'm just very lucky that Quillfish had Acid Spray. I don't love the idea of Acid Spray on Quillfish, by the way. Acid Spray is fine if you're using a Pokemon that has Poison Jab, but I feel like a Pokemon that uses Poison Sting, which builds energy quickly but does just absolutely no fast move pressure, I don't think that it's worth running Acid Spray, but that's just my 2 cents. And SJP is a professional Quillfisher, actually. You might remember him running that from one of my earlier Shadow Charizard videos. So, very, very experienced Quillfisher. So, if he's running it like that, it's probably totally viable. Alright, so Drapion is going to win that Dragouge lead, and you're going to also be able to get this Crunch out against, what was it? Against the Skuntank that came out. I get the defense drop, which is fantastic, and now I'm just going to bring out Dragouge. Opponent stays in for a little bit and then swaps to Azumarill. I'm going to switch out to my own Azumarill. As long as I can take out this Azu, Skuntank doesn't really have an amazing way to take out Dragouge. Like, 1 crunch won't be enough, so it's going to take 2 crunches. So, as long as I save, you know, since I exited, or I switched out of Dragouge with some energy, if I can get shields down at an even rate here in the Azu mirror, then Dragouge will be able to close no problem. And all I really need to do is be kind of careful with my energy once the switch timers are out. Once the switch timers are up, I should not leave myself too low. Or at least, you know, be prepared to swap in. Here I'm kind of in an awkward position, and I'm going to use this last shield. If my opponent swapped out here to his Skuntank, or I guess right after, if he no shields this and then switches out to Skuntank, I think that would probably have been the best play. Because saving shielding the Azumarill here doesn't really help that much. Like, this Azu isn't going to be able to take out my Azu, because my Azu had a tiny energy lead. No, I had a tiny energy disadvantage, but like, the Azu mirror ends up leaving Azu so low. XL Azus just end up leaving themselves in kind of Ice Beam range, so I'm just going to spam out the Aqua Tail as soon as I can, and this Shadow Skuntank is going to be able to land a crunch, but even if it gets a defense debuff, it is not going to be enough. They're not going to be able to take me out before I can just Dragon Tail them down. I was actually totally safe to Dragon Tail down. I'm not sure why I'm throwing this Aqua Tail. I guess it's just trying to be careful. It's not like I haven't lost track of energy recently. I'm of course referring to that Jellicent matchup from my last video. Also, one of the videos from this set is missing, and I have no idea why. Like, I don't know what I did with that or where it went. It was apparently a win, so it's not like I'm trying to hide it. I showed my loss, and this is a 4-win set, so I don't know what happened to that other video. But, yeah. Just going to catch that Jellicent. Jellicent, always a nice reward to get. I am still not done with an XL Jellicent, and I go up to 3322. Putting me back up on the first page. Next up against Zardy. So, the Drapion Mirror. Drapion is not the easiest thing for my team to deal with. My opponent switches into a Scavalier, which is, like, fantastic, I guess. I'm not going to switch out right away because I want to throw this Crunch first. I'm not too sure why. It does a lot, and I get the defense drop, and now I can send out a Azumarill, and since I got that defense drop and did that Crunch damage, I should be able to pretty safely just bubble the whole way down, leave myself with energy. I don't really need to worry about eating these drill runs. Sure, they hit for neutral, but I've been on the other side of this matchup, and I know what a Scav can and cannot do. A Scavalier is an amazing Pokemon, but it is not the best Azu counter, that's for sure. So Drapion's going to come back out, and I'm going to unload this energy. Land the first Play Rough, and I'm going to actually be able to get this second Play Rough out since he switched out right away. Definitely looking like an ABB team, but no, it's actually Toxicroak in the back, so this is fine. They are forced to throw their move here. I could probably have shielded this and let him, burn a shield there, but it doesn't, at this point, I mean, I can just send in Dragalge and fast move Toxicroak down. Being in the 2-shield, I guess Passme knew what he was doing. That seems like a fine choice. All right, next up against Chianti. Drapion into Mawile. So Mawile is a pretty good counter. I switch out to Dragalge, and we have some nice lag, which is always fun. Very, familiar feature of Pokemon Go to everyone who plays. So I'm going to land the Aqua Tail, and then they're going to switch out to Jellicent, which is fine with me. I snuck in a Dragon Tail there, so if I shield this, even if it, as long as it didn't turn out to be a Bubble Beam, I'll be able to reach the Gunk Shot before they're able to get to another move. I was not sure if this was going to KO or not, and it didn't, but I think my opponent overtapped there. Or no, that was 5. Yeah, because I was able to sneak in a Dragon Tail, I was able to KO this Jellicent there. If I had not snuck that move, I would not have been able to KO there. I would have ended up having to shield another Shadow Ball in order to force my way into alignment. And at this point, it would be 2 shields to none, which would be a much iffier situation than it is currently. So I'm going to no-shield this move, hoping that it is a bait, and it is not. That's a Play Rough and takes me out, but that's all right. I have my Azumarill aligned the way I wanted it, and it turns out there's a Mandibuzz in the back, which my Azumarill is also the best answer to. So Drapion doesn't have amazing places to go. I mean, Drapion is not amazing against Mandibuzz, but it is like fairly even. It actually probably makes the most sense for me to have just swapped out to Drapion right away before my Azumarill ends up too low. But since I was at a shield deficit, didn't really want to risk Drapion getting farmed down by Mawile, and of course that wouldn't have been a problem if I had swapped out right away. But I mean, Azumarill is such a good wall to Mandy. Mawile comes back out. I wasn't super clear if they were trying to make a catch or not, but I was pretty confident that they didn't have it. Like, if this is a power-up punch, I shield a power-up punch, and that's fine. If it's an Iron Head, that's the only thing that was going to be able to kill me. So they baited me power-up punch, but obviously it doesn't matter. They're not going to get another move out, and that is a GG, because my Azu is loaded with energy, and Mandibuzz does not have 2 loaded. All right, next up against Pat SC. Drapion into Dragalge. So we saw this lead a little bit earlier. Dragon Tail damage is pretty oppressive. The Aqua Tail is not so bad. I didn't throw as soon as I had it. Sometimes I try to throw on alignment to CMP them. Other times I just try to go right through. So I was able to sneak in a Poison Sting, but then they immediately afterwards snuck in a Dragon Tail, so we're pretty much even. I got the defense fall, which doesn't matter at all, actually, in this particular matchup. Like, this second crunch would KO whether I get the defense drop or not, and the defense drop isn't going to lower their attack, so I'm not going to be able to reach another crunch. Just going to send out my own Dragalge. They're built up to, I think, this is not quite an outrage, so it could only be an Aqua Tail. Going to eat that. And then he switches out into Golurk, which, I mean, the Mud Slaps definitely hurt, but this Aqua Tail does so much damage also. So able to just switch out into Azumarill after that, and I bubbled the whole way down. And yeah, there is a Charm Alolan Ninetales left over in the back. So that's kind of tough to deal with. Need to be very good about denying charms, and I did not there. They were able to sneak in a charm, so that makes this a bit worse. I'm going to land that Play Rough, and I really, really need to be able to reach another one. Thankfully, they throw energy here, and that actually enables me to sneak in a bubble. If they hadn't done that and had just charmed down... Actually, no, I'm there now. I would have been able to get to an Ice Beam, but not a Play Rough. And it wouldn't have been enough to actually KO them. Since they threw that second one, I'm able to actually reach this Play Rough, and I get the KO, and now I can insta-swap out to Dragalge and just Dragon Tail down that Dragalge, and I just barely managed to take that game, GG. But yeah, I was very lucky that I snuck there, because I'm not positive that Dragalge would have been able to survive enough charms to Dragon Tail down. It's very hard to do that. All right, Drapion into Shadow Scissor. So there's a lot of ways that people play from the Shadow Scissor perspective. I think I tried to explain that in the last game, and it turned out they had X Scissor. Yeah, there's no real way to tell what they're going to end up doing. I decided to no-shield this time, and thankfully I guessed correctly, and it is a Night Slash. I could no-shield this Night Slash, and I would survive it. But I don't think I would have been able to reach my last crunch. They swap out at the last second to Umbreon to try to catch my crunch, and that is okay. For whatever reason, I'm throwing this Sludge Bomb, which I don't know about that. Probably should have just stored up back-to-back Sludge Bombs and then swapped out to Azumarill. Because, I mean, that Sludge Bomb doesn't really do that much to Umbreon, whereas the crunches do so much to so many other Pokemon. But that's all right. I'm just going to bring Azu out now. Before, I lose switch advantage. And I'm just going to straight throw this Play Rough here. After landing that Sludge Bomb, one Play Rough plus, I guess I could bubble the whole way down here. My opponent recognizes that and switches out to his own Azumarill. That's kind of, okay, I guess. I'm going to throw this Play Rough to stall for time. And switch out to my Drapion that only has one move loaded, but if it had two moves loaded, then that would have been a lot better. And I get bubbled down. So, yeah. From here, I guess... Oh, I'm just going to send Azu out. Okay. I'm going to send out Azumarill. I am going to absorb this charge move, and I'm going to save my shield for Dragalge. This feels like kind of a waste. I know the Azumarill had energy, so it's really difficult to send Dragalge out because it takes so long to build up to the move that you want. Yeah, they CMP me here when I'm trying to throw my next Play Rough, which would actually put them into Aqua Tail range, but I decided to just let the Ice Beam go. And now I'm going to bring out Dragalge, and this is a bad situation. I don't even manage to sneak in a Dragon Tail there, so I'm going to end up eating a move for sure. Yeah, I don't know about this. I fast move tonight, and I throw this Aqua Tail here. I don't think that's actually enough to KO. It isn't, yeah. So I'm going to end up eating this Ice Beam. I should probably have just kept throwing Dragon Tails straight through so I'd at least have energy for whatever's in the back. And Umbreon comes out, and this is a combo play, so yeah, I die here. I definitely should have sent Dragalge out into Azumarill and held on to my Azumarill instead, because the Play Roughs that I threw with Azumarill didn't actually end up meaning anything. They didn't add up to anything. The Gunk Shot would have KO'd regardless, so there was just no need. I definitely did not play that matchup the way I should have, and I had the information that I needed. All right, so against Frostlass, I don't like to throw as soon as I have the crunch because that feels like the time when they would try to switch out. I usually throw at 6 because my opponents are also not throwing their avalanches at 6 because they don't want me to sneak in an extra move. So, you know, I have to build up 1 extra so that they can fast move deny properly. But regardless, I mean, you get to crunch in just 5, 5, 5, 5, and Frostlass gets to avalanches at 6, 6, 5. So you get a full, you're 2 fast moves faster in getting to the 3rd. So if Frostlass were to take it into the 2 shield, Drapion would still win it. So I end up sending out Dragalge to snipe. And this Azumarill is, I mean, I'm taking a risk here, throwing the gunk shot right away. It gets shielded, which is terrible for me. I figured there was a decent chance they would just let it go. I'm not actually going to be able to reach another gunk shot, but my opponent thinks that I might, and I guess there was a chance. I'm going to end up getting taken out by an Ice Beam, and that is fine. Send Drapion back out. Frostlass went down with a bunch of energy, so this is okay. And I switch out to Azu after... throwing 1 Poison Sting because I was trying to catch an Ice Beam or something. Ended up just eating a Play Rough, which is fine, not a big deal. And since my opponent is staying in, I'm not super sure what to make of that. I throw my Play Rough right away, which is definitely a mistake because my opponent is winning CMP against me. Everything does. My Azumarill is rank 1. So no real reason to undercharge this. Just hit enough bubbles for it to KO. And there's a Quillfish in the back, which is a really hard counter to Azumarill in the first place. I'm going to throw this Ice Beam so that Quillfish will end up in crunch range. But, I mean, they're going to be able to build up to almost back-to-back. I definitely needed a little bit more. They actually throw an Ice Beam, and I'm able to get to this crunch, but not able to get it off fast enough. I just needed 1 more Poison Sting, and this Ice Beam is going to take me out, and I get Poison Stung the rest of the way down. So yeah, that's rough for me. But all right, that's a GG. Yeah, that was kind of tough. And Azumarill really does not have that much play against a Quillfish. Although that Quillfish was running Ice Beam, so actually it also didn't have an amazing way of harming Azu. My Azu was just too low. Still, a very slightly positive set. 3 points for a 3 out of 2 is actually not bad. And then I think there was a set missing from here because I did 1 set on stream that was just a straight 5 out of 5. So that happened, and I'm not going to squish those videos into this one because that would make this video too long. And you can always find those battles, that VOD, on my Twitch page at twitch.tv/Ferrikster. So I am throwing this crunch here to try to take out that Dragalge, and then I decide to try swapping in. So I swap my own Dragalge in to try to snipe them down before they can throw another move or to catch the Aqua Tail. And they end up switching in a Galvantula, and Galv is pretty strong against my team except for Dragalge. And Dragalge is just a really hard counter to Galvantula to begin with. There is a Skuntank in the back, non-shadow, so there's really no fast move pressure, and I saved both of my shields. So I am just going to throw these Aqua Tails, which are doing not that much because I've been debuffed, but that's all right. Just going to throw this next one. And I'm not super sure what the play is for my opponent anymore. It brings in Dragalge. I was not quite able to get my crunch off, so that is unfortunate. But I'm just going to send out my Azumarill here and just bubble. And, I mean, if I end up shielding and it's an Aqua Tail bait, that's still okay, because the bubble damage, and I just need to be able to reach this Ice Beam before this Dragalge can reach a Gunk Shot, which I do. If they shield and build up to the Gunk Shot, then I'll just Mirror Shield and basically bubble down, and Skuntank does not have that much health and does not have that much energy, so Azu should have no problem getting to this Ice Beam. I can easily tank even a Sludge Bomb from here. Even if it were a Shadow Skuntank, it would not quite do enough to KO. So I'm just going to throw this Ice Beam, and I managed to take that game. That's a GG. But yeah, when I swapped in Dragalge and Galvantula came out, couldn't have been happier with that counter swap. Shout out to Hedonist, but he just did not have an answer for Dragalge after his own Dragalge was out. But we all have weaknesses like that. Mine's Drapion. So Drapion switches in, and I am stuck. I can't really switch out because Drapion is fairly strong against the rest of my team. I don't get a defense drop there, and this Drapion is building up excess energy before they they throw. Like, Drapion is already the best thing for absorbing enemy Drapion's energy. So he throws that crunch, and that means he has another one already loaded. I swap in my Dragalge anyway, because I don't want him to his switch timer to run all the way out. And I'm going to end up having to shield a crunch? No, I'm just going to let it go. Basically, pretty much sacking Dragalge. Azumarill comes out, and that's fine. I'm going to be able to reach one gunk shot, except that I don't actually... Oh my gosh, I don't actually make it. That's right, I remember this game. I should have thrown an Aqua Tail. I was so close to a gunk shot, there was a chance that they might have shielded it anyway, and chip damage is better than no chip damage. Looking at my health bar, I thought there was a chance I might have survived that last bubble and been able to actually throw the gunk. That's all right. I'm still not getting a single shield out of this Azu. My opponent's switch timer is not quite up yet, so I'm going to swap in my own Azumarill to absorb this Azu's energy. It is a Play Rough, and that is fine. And I'm just going to spam out my own Play Rough as soon as I have it. I don't want to build up extra energy because I'm pretty confident my opponent would win CMP and take me out. And there's an Escavalier in the back, so that is okay. My Azu has already taken in too much damage, though, so I can only actually survive one drill run, and I'll have to shield the next ones. I'm throwing an Ice Beam here because I figured my opponent was kind of obligated to shield, and it's going to take 2 moves to take them out anyway. But if I had thrown the Play Rough there, that would have been better because it would have done slightly more damage. It would have saved me from having to throw 2 bubbles about. I'm going to switch in Drapion here, and I'm going to throw my Crunch since my opponent lets me reach it. Get the last shield, but I mean my Azu is far from having enough energy or health to finish this game. End up having to shield this drill run. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to be able to reach another Crunch. So yeah, Escav is just going to throw this next drill run, and that is going to take me out and can literally just punch my Azumarill down. Because yeah, Azumarill not quite able to make it. If I had thrown the Play Rough, they would have been KO'd there, but it's not like that was their last Pokemon. All right, next up against Soft Roger. Drapion into Wormadam. This is a fairly positive-ish matchup just because, you know, the resistance to confusion means that there's just not a lot of fast move pressure, and Drapion outpaces Wormadam substantially. So my opponent's going to swap in Galvantula, which I love seeing as a safe swap because that means I can get my Dragalge against it right away. Argument can be made for I should have thrown an Aqua Tail before they throw this lunge just so that I wouldn't end up double debuffed, but it doesn't, not really going to make any difference at all. Wormadam is going to come out. I will go down in 2 confusions, so I'm just going to throw this first Dragon Tail and then throw an Aqua Tail and then spam out another Aqua Tail. My opponent sneaks in a confusion, but if I tried to throw a Dragon Tail and then throw my charge move, the confusion would register and I would faint before actually getting to throw some things, so... Made sense to just spam out the Aqua Tail anyway. No need to get the extra Dragon Tail of damage. That damage wouldn't have been impactful anyway. So this Wormadam does have a slight energy lead now. But, I mean, I did build up energy on Drapion before I swapped out. So I'm going to shield this, whatever it turns out to be. It is a Bug Buzz, so that would have been the way harder hitting move. Glad I shielded it. And there is a Scrafty in the back. So this is kind of just me hard countering my opponent. Not going to shield the first move out of Scrafty. Whether it's a power-up punch or an acid spray, there's just no need to shield it. And now, since my opponent has 2 shields and is clear, I'm going to have to throw a lot of bubbles. In the first place, I'm just going to go straight Ice Beam. Like, Ice Beam won't KO from here. And Play Rough obviously would. But since you know, they kind of need their Scrafty, I kind of, feel like it's just safe to just throw straight Ice Beams and no shield everything. The only way that I really lose this is if I end up shielding a power-up punch that came like fairly early on and then they would land a foul play later. I decide to shield this and it turns out to be a pup, and that's fine. For whatever reason, I'm throwing my Ice Beam here. Like, at this point, it makes a lot of sense to just throw the Play Rough to actually, you know, get the KO. That's how much an Ice Beam does. They would have to throw something if they wanted to take me out, but they go for the farm down to store something because that is their only real win condition. Wormadam comes back out, and I'm just going to throw this Crunch as soon as I've got it. No reason to try to build up extra energy. So yeah, A double boosted foul play, triple boosted foul play, 4 times boosted foul play might have done enough damage to actually flip that matchup, but yeah, Scrafty was able to be taken out by Azu just with those last bubbles, so it wasn't really an issue. All right, Drapion into Frostlass. So, talked about this one before. It's just all 5s, Poison Sting into Crunch, whereas Frostlass goes 6, 6, 5 to get to the Avalanches. So that is how much the Crunch does. I get the defense drop, which I don't think changes anything. My Poison Stings don't do more damage just because of 1 defense fall. And I'm going to end up shielding this Avalanche anyway. Going to throw this Crunch here. So if they want to get their next Avalanche out, they will have to shield, and they decide not to. So that is fine with me. They're actually going to swap out and store that Avalanche, and because they're storing that, I feel like I have to switch out of Drapion and just save some energy. So just going to bring my Dragalge out right away. I'm not even specifically trying to force my way into switch advantage here, because if I win switch here against this Drapion, I could end up getting into like farm down range for something. So I just let that Crunch go. Drapion's able to take me out. And now I'm just going to bring out my own Drapion, and I'm not going to throw my Crunch right away because I want to make sure that I have a Crunch loaded for a Frostlass switch in. Not able to do that though. This Drapion will reach its Crunch in a little bit if I don't throw mine. So I throw that, and Mandibuzz comes out, which is probably one of the best things I could have seen left over in the back. So I'm just going to bring out a Azumarill. And I'm just going to go straight Ice Beam. It takes 2 Ice Beams plus the bubbles, or 2 Play Roughs plus the bubbles to take out Mandibuzz, so there's really no reason for me not to just go straight Ice Beam. And the Frostlass is already pretty low, so I can just go Ice Beam against Frostlass, also if Frostlass swaps in. I'm going to throw this Ice Beam as soon as I have it, just so that it forces my opponent to use their last shield. They definitely need to keep Mandibuzz alive because it is the only thing with any real health on the team. And I am just going to no-shield this because the only thing that can really damage Azumarill at this point would be a Shadow Ball from Frostlass. So I'm going to shield this, whatever it is. Turns out to be an Avalanche. I was pretty sure it had to be, but that's all right. I'm just going to bubble the rest of the way down, and yeah, there is no way. So that is a GG. I had actually tried to throw my Ice Beam, so my opponent would have made a catch if it went through, but for whatever reason it didn't. So got a little bit of a refund there, but I think that was... I don't think it was going to end up mattering because Mandibuzz just could not beat Azu from that health. All right, another Dragalge lead, so going to play this out the same way as usual. This time I opt to try to throw in sync with their Aqua Tail, and they don't throw it, and they sneak in an extra Dragon Tail. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. I got the defense drop, which does not matter at all. And I am going to no-shield this first Dragon Tail, and then my opponent swaps out into his own Drapion, and I'm going to respond by sending out my own Dragalge. So kind of just swapping roles here. Unfortunate thing is that this Drapion has a tiny energy lead on my Dragalge, which my Drapion did not have. So going to no-shield the first Crunch. Definitely looks like my Dragalge is a little tankier than my opponent's. And what do I decide to do here? Decide to shield that Crunch. And I have to spam out this Aqua Tail because if I don't, my opponent will make it to another Crunch. Drapion is just pretty spammy. Was in fact already there. At this point the Drapion is pretty low, but I'm just going to shield anyway and Dragon Tail the rest of the way down. If my opponent's Dragalge comes out, they'll have to throw something or I'll be able to take them out. I fast move deny and throw this Aqua Tail. And they no-shield it. So we're going to end up Dragon Tailing and going down in sync. What's left over? There's a Skuntank. So that's okay, I guess. I'm going to bring out Drapion, throw this Crunch. I get the defense fall, which is pretty sweet. And I'm just going to spam out another Crunch, going for another defense drop, or just for doing the damage. If I do the damage, that would be enough. All I really needed to do, though, was get the shield before they built up too much energy. And I'm just going to spam out this Ice Beam as soon as I have it. They're going to throw a move here. If it's a Sludge Bomb, that's fine. I would just barely survive it, and I'm able to get this Ice Beam out. XL Azumarill is pretty thick. And I'm able to take that game. That's GG. So, finishing that set, this is a 4 out of 5 set. I get a Darkrai, which is cool. My best Darkrai, for whatever, is still a 91 IV. Like, I have never gotten a better one than that. I do not know why that Pokemon is eluding me so much, but I'm also not super sure why I want it in the first place. Anyway, I go up to 3421, which for that day, when that finally went through, ended up putting me at number 4 on the leaderboard, and that's the highest position I reached during Halloween Cup. Ever since Ultra League Premier Classic came out, that is what I have opted to play. Halloween Cup is still available, so you could still play it and still play this team, and I hope you have a lot of success with it. But as for trying to climb around on page 1, it is impossible because everyone is playing, Ultra League Premier Classic, which makes a lot of sense. It is a fantastic cup. It's been a lot of fun, and I'll cover a team to use for that in a little bit after I get a slightly better handle on the meta, because I'm still experimenting for now. But yeah, number 4 for Halloween Cup. Not a bad placement. Another top 10 finish for a specialty cup. I am totally satisfied with that. Congratulations to Onion Frank, who, number 1'd on that day and prevented me from being able to reach it. I was actually, I had a I was 3-1 in a set when this leaderboard updated, but I could not find a game. I could not find a game to finish that set in time to have a chance. I ended up losing the game that followed that anyway, and I think I dropped 3 points, and I have not been able to really climb back up. It has been too busy, and the queues have been too long. It is crushing my soul, you guys. Not enough people at a really high level were playing Halloween Cup then, and now they're definitely not. So yeah, that's why I'm moving on to Ultra League Premier Classic, which, yeah, I can stand behind too. It's a fun meta also. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to do the things that you know you're supposed to do at the ends of videos. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You know what you're supposed to do. Please do the things. Helps me out a lot. Thank you all for watching.